Hello and welcome to another episode of The Hollywood Knitter. My name is Allison and I'm recording on Friday, April 19th, 2019 from my home in Los Angeles, California. It's only been like 2 weeks, people. I just wanted to sit down and record a podcast because I have quite a few things kind of to share and talk about and show. And I wanted to do that before too long so that I could actually go put the stuff away. It sits in like my podcast bin basket basically, and it's overflowing. So I thought, hey, I got some stuff to show, some things to share. Let me go ahead and podcast soon because I have some time. Anyways, since I last talked to you, I went to the Northern California Knitting Retreat, which is where a lot of this is from that I'm going to talk about. And as a result, I've gotten quite a bit of knitting done, and I have new acquisitions and things like that. So this is mostly going to be kind of a byproduct of that. But let's start with some FOs. And the first thing I finished were some ankle socks from Scrappy Yarn for my niece. And I'm going to be bringing these with me when I go to see my family in May. It will be her 9th birthday. So I thought this will be a cute little present. And you can kind of see I had scraps and I did them both the same. And I'd said last time I do mine toe up, and I did solid gray for the heel and toe, though I did use a different gray for the heel. This is the second one, so you can see. On the first one, I used an entirely different gray, and I didn't have enough of it on the second one. So then I used the other color that I actually used for the heel and the cuff. But then the other ones were just, I had two colors that kind of matched together, and I alternated two rows and then one. So it was this dark purple and then light purples, and then this one was a lighter purple solid that I striped with kind of a gray. So I think they're cute. I think she'll like them. Total socks were 44 grams, and I don't know where the yarn is from. It's literally, I have little balls of it, and I'm not very good at remembering where they're coming from. And plus, I pick up a lot of balls at Knockers and stuff, so a lot of them are mystery yarns. But I think they're cute. I think she'll like them. The last socks I knit her last summer, she wore a lot, or she wore a lot while I was there. Whether she wears them a lot all the time, I'm not sure. So I thought I would knit her scrappy ones and see if she likes these. And yeah, other than that, it took me about 2 weeks. I started before I went to Knockers, and I actually finished one. And then the second one I finished while I was there, and then I weaved in all the ends and stuff when I was home. And the pattern is the Stockmatician's Toe Up pattern, which is my preferred toe up pattern these days. And then I just did a few more rows past the heel, and then just did a ribbing cuff. So hopefully they'll fit. I made them a little longer than I made the ones last summer, figuring, she's growing, her feet are growing. So they may be a little big, but if so, I think she'll still be able to wear them. The other thing I finished, I cast off since I last talked to you, and this was my primary knitting at the Northern California Knitting Retreat. When you go to a knitting retreat, you need semi-mindless, semi-easy stuff. And I'm going to show you my shawl I've been working on, but I just didn't want to work on it. So instead, I knit a hat. And this is kind of hard to see because it's hand spun, but it's a 1x1 rib for almost all of it, with just a one row of kind of garter that kind of breaks it up here. And this was actually a free pattern by called Rafa's Hat by Joji Locatelli. I can speak. Anyways, I was looking for something to do with this, and this was hand spun that I actually picked up off the D-Stash table. So there is a D-Stash table at the Northern California Knitting Retreat where people put yarns or bags or patterns or projects. And so this was actually some beautiful purple hand spun that I picked up last year. So I do like picking up kind of some, lonely yarns from the table and making charity hats that I then bring back the next year and donate to the charity that in San Francisco that the brothers from the retreat center run in San Francisco. So they collect warm hats and scarves and things like that. So I kind of like the full circle of that by picking up some, some yarn that needs a new home and then knitting it up into hats and warm things and then bringing them back the following year to donate. So this was my first hat that will be ready for donation for next year. And it's just really great hand spun. I have no idea what the fiber is, and I actually have more of it. I'm doing another charity hat, which you'll see in a second. But this is the Raffas hat by Joji Lokiteli, and it is a free pattern. And I really liked it. Really simple. I mean, it's super simple, but I like to follow patterns for, I don't know, just because I do, for little hats. And so at least for, make sure I have the stitch count right for the gauge or things like that, so I have to think less. It's kind of how it goes. The other thing I'm going to kind of show is I started another charity hat, and this is going to actually be kind of a random charity hat. I'm just not following a pattern for it. But I picked up this just kind of green. Most of the yarn that I pick up, I try to make it like worsted weight so the hats go fast. Excuse me, they itch. And so I'm going to use it with the rest of the hand spun that I have. And so I've only cast on pretty much for just the ribbing bottom. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the, I think I'm just going to do stripes. Kind of some type of striping pattern for the hat. And then, yeah. So I cast this on. This is kind of my travel project right now. On a little hat kick. Didn't feel like doing socks, and they're small and portable enough and should be fast enough if I dedicate some time. I actually cast on the brim earlier this week, but I haven't had any time at work, so I haven't really worked on it. So that's one charity hat. The other thing is I cast on another hat because basically I'm not happy with the shawl, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So I didn't want to work on it. My boyfriend's niece is having her first child. So I thought I would knit up a baby hat and maybe some baby booties to give. I won't be here. I think when the shower is, I think I'll be out of town, but he can take them. So I actually picked this up from the D-Stash, and it is a kind of untwisted kind of roving style yarn almost. It's super soft. I have not done the burn test to see whether it's wool or acrylic. I'm not sure. I'm actually thinking it might be acrylic, but it's fine. And I'm cast on, and I'm almost done with the 7th hat by Kelly Van Niekerk. And this is a free pattern on Ravelry. This is sort of a DK kind of weight yarn. I kind of did a wraps per inch to figure it out because there's obviously no ball band. And it's just a really simple hat that is kind of some alternating kind of ribbing pattern, almost like a basket weave, but not exactly. And but it's super soft, like super soft. So I figured I'm making it, you know, for 6-month size. So they'll wear it very little, and then if it goes wherever it goes, and you know, this was free yarn that I picked up. So they're not finding out the gender. So I wanted to do something neutral. So that was what I liked. The gray work obviously for any color works for boy or girl, but some moms like to be gender specific in their colors. So I thought I would be neutral in the gray. So I have a lot left, so I'm gonna finish the hat, and then as I said, I'm gonna do some booties. And I apologize, I'm saying so a lot right now. Anyways, but let me show you what I haven't been working on because I'm not happy with it. And this is my The Love of Spiders by Melanie Berg. And the pattern is fine. And I actually really like the pattern. What I don't like are my yarn choices. Basically, there's not enough contrast here. It's too muddy. I thought, you know, when I did this, I was like, oh, it'll be okay. There'll be more contrast when I get to the this kind of slip stitchy kind of thing. And there's really not. I did about, you know, 8 rows of it, and I was like, well, let me see. And then I tried to talk myself. It's like, well, I'm going to give it as a gift and it will be fine. And I'm a process knitter. But then I was not wanting to pick it up and work on it. And I was like, look, obviously I just need to suck it up and rip it out. But I still want to knit it, and I wanted to find yarns in the stash that were going to work. And so these are my 2 colors originally. And kind of here, they sort of look like enough contrast, but when I did like the trick where you take a picture of them with your phone and turn them into grayscale, they're like the same color, which is why they don't have enough contrast. And I knit like a lot. Like this one is about half done. That was another thing I think I was hesitating, is because I've knit a fair amount on it. But that's the backside. It looks better on the backside. I bit the bullet today, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to continue on with these yarns. I still want to knit the pattern. So I went into my stash, which is why we have stash, so we can do this. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the fuchsia, but I found this to go with it. And this is Suburban Stitcher that I picked up. I'm not sure, probably picked it up at ZK. And it's her sock, and it's called Jelly of the Month. And it's a merino nylon, 460 yards. And it's just a mostly white, but then she's got some pops of color here, some pinks, some purples, magenta. Just totally goes with this, like that color family. And I think the contrast will be much more. So I think I'm going to change the top. And instead of it being the fuchsia on the top, so like the darker on the top, I'm going to make it the white. So it'll be the white is the solid with the fuchsia as the contrast, and then it will go into the fuchsia white kind of slip stitch edge, that's a lot of it, and then it will be the fuchsia solid bottom. So I need to rip it. That's on my list to do after this, and wind this up. And then the gray, which is, you know, a great neutral gray, will go back into my stash and wait for another project. I'm hoping that this makes me happier with it. I think it will. It just needs contrast. Like, it's such a beautiful pattern with all these great slip stitches on the main body, and I don't have a picture of it, but the one that I really fell in love with on the project page was like a bright yellow with like a gray or something like that, something that really pops. I did have some really bright colors that I considered. I have a bright green and a bright yellow, but I didn't have the right neutral to pop with them. So I found this, and I'm happy with it. I think that this will be really pretty. I think it will be a great color combo and give me the contrast I want. So that's the Melanie Berg that's about to be ripped out for the Love of Spiders, and I'll cast on probably this weekend and start working on it again. So that's kind of all of my knitting that I have going on. I'm going to talk about the Northern California Knitting Retreat. It was the retreat that I went to last weekend in Northern California. It's up in a retreat center in San Juan Bautista that's run by Franciscan monks. And my cat heard me talking, so she decided to come up from her nap now. I drove up there on Thursday. It's it's Friday through Sunday, but you can do an option where you come in on Thursday and have an extra night. And we did that, or requested that, after a few years, because you just want more time to hang out. So I actually drove up from LA. It's about a 5-hour drive, and got there about 4 o'clock. And yeah, and then the rest of the weekend was just sitting and enjoying the beautiful weather outside. Nice 70s, sunny, gorgeous, and sitting outside and just enjoying hanging out with all of my knitting buddies. This is a retreat where a lot of the same people will come back every year. I think there were only like 3 or 4 new people this year. So it's awesome. You get to sit and talk to people, and it's a big enough retreat. It's 60 people. And so that's enough that you don't actually get to talk to everyone else every weekend. Every year I feel like I talk to someone new that even though I've seen them the previous years, I didn't get a chance to really sit and connect with. So that was fun. My roommate was my friend Martha, Knit Crit. This is her 4th year coming, and she likes to come out. And she came out with Carol, which is her 2nd year. So it was great. It was a lot of fun. It always is. And as I said, one of the big highlights is the D-stash table. I didn't get rid of any yarn this year, but I did put a few project bags in there that got picked up, and some tea I didn't like. I switched from my Plum Deluxe subscription to a new one called Tea Runners. And I really like the marketing and the packaging of Plum Deluxe, but what I found for me is he puts a lot in his blends of cinnamon, and I'm not a fan of cinnamon in my teas. I like blends, but I just don't like the taste of cinnamon. So I had quite a few, or not a few, I had like 3 or 4 that had cinnamon in it that I put out into the D-stash loose leaf teas. And instead I switched over to Tea Runners, which is one where I can get primarily like black tea, which is what I ended up getting. So I got like a black tea assortment, and it sent some teas from India and things like that. So we'll see if I like that one more. So on the D-stash table, I picked up something on the first day, and this was the biggest thing I sort of picked up. And I picked up this, and it says 4 by 450 yards of merino cashmere silk camel, and it feels so soft. And I was like, wow, that's a sweater quantity of this great green, which I love this color green. So I picked that up, and I was actually looking at different things over the weekend, and I think what I might do is a color work. So I need to find like a contrast. It's probably going to marinate in my stash for a while because I have other sweater quantities that are already earmarked and are going to get knit, but I have no idea who left it and why, but I loved it. The other things I kind of picked up from the D-stash is I picked up some more charity yarn, like the ones you saw me start knitting with. I also have 1 or 2 more half skeins of like a worsted weight random that I'm going to knit some with. I picked up a few sock yarn kind of half scraps that I like the color of, that could either be half socks or will go into my sock yarn blanket. And I picked up a bunch of minis, which I've actually already put into balls, and they're in my basket of beautiful mini skein balls for my blanket. So I have all that. Then let's see, what else am I going to show you? Oh, I picked up a project. So this retreat is co-hosted by Barb and Tracy of Two Knitlit Chicks, as well as Gail and Charlene of the Yarniacs. But Barb actually brought a bunch of beautiful shawls and put them in the D-stash room to find new homes. And I saw this and I wanted it. I wanted it very much. And she ended up telling me, I think it's one of those Way It shawls by Susan B. Anderson maybe, but the yarn, and when I picked it up I was like, ooh, I think this is Miss Babs Yowza, and I was right. So it's a worsted weight shawl, kind of just a ruffle, kind of blues, and I ended up wearing it over the weekend because even though it was hot, like I was out and I needed to cover the back of my neck because I was getting a sunburn, so I just had my shawl on. So Barb was a great, obviously, knitter and was very generous in finding new homes for some of her shawls. I was happy to take this one, happy to add it to my collection. Love the colors. I was actually looking at those colors, and I think I had knit one of my sweaters with this yarn, or very close to this yarn. So yeah, happy with that. So that came home with me. For kind of the gift bag this year, I have stuff piled in front of me. Previous years we've gotten tote bags. This year they did little project bags, and they did the little Northern California knitting retreat. In addition, they always give like a nice tumbler, which is actually in my kitchen already, with the logo on it that you can use over the weekend. Does hot or cold beverages, so that's always very useful. And then they gave out some wonderful donors, gave some coupons. So Front Range bags, which I know is a favorite. We got some stitch markers. We got to select some, and this is from Yarn Snobs. So that was wonderful. A little pair of scissors that I believe were a gift from Melanie for Kitties Have Eyes. She brought a whole bunch of beautiful colored ones, and so that's fun. Stitch stopper from my friend Laura, Dizzy Blonde Studios, who just moved to Florida. And it's kind of interesting. I've never seen this. It's kind of a little plastic ring that you can put on your needles, put your needles through to kind of hold them together and stop stitches from falling off. And then we also got a coupon code from Leading Men Fiber Arts and Desert Vista Dye Works. And a wonderful beeswax lip balm from the To Use Fiber Adventures, which always nice. She got those last year and I have one in my bag. So that was great. And then we also, this is a box, I haven't even opened it, but we got, and a lot of people were using these, I'm going to kind of pull it out and show it to you. Basically a neck light. And I got the one that is, they call it a book light, but we're calling it a knitting light, right? And it is this kind of twistable, very bright LED light that you can shine and have down. I'm not going to turn it on, but shine it right in your lap and do your knitting. And a lot of people were using it. I think this is going to be really useful for me when I knit at the couch sometimes, because sometimes in the evenings I don't have the best bright light in the living room, and so if I'm working on dark things, that could be a problem. So this will become very useful. And I got the one, they had two options, one that is rechargeable and one that took batteries. So mine is a rechargeable one, so I actually probably should take it out and charge it. So I will leave this out to do that. So those are the wonderful kind of goodie bag and prizes, and that's put together by Mary, Data Knitter. She always does a great job. Then we have door prizes. Everyone gets one door prize. And then in addition to the door prizes, the charity, which is Knitted Knockers, is what they support. Everybody who brought Knitted Knockers got into a drawing for more prizes. I ended up making 15 Knitted Knockers this year and I think they went around and basically gave a bunch of prizes out. So I got more than one prize. I'm going to show you some yarn. I can't remember. Some of them are door prize. One's a door prize. Some were from Knitted Knockers, the prize, and then some were gifted by people who, you know, got one of the prizes and was in love with it. And we all have big stashes and people are generous. So I ended up making out with 5 skeins of yarn. I also traded some. So one of the prizes I got, someone didn't like their color. I'm like, well, you want one of these? And so I can't remember. I know I did one with Robbie, Photo Knit Gal, and then Mary also gave me one. So I can't exactly remember. But these were all donated wonderful prizes. And the first one I took is Leading Man Fiber Arts. And this is the Ghost Light. This is his lace weight, which I've actually knit a shawl from, which is beautiful. This is the Rubescent colorway. It's 875 yards, and although I'm not knitting lace right now, I really enjoyed working with this. A few years ago, I made a shawl for a friend, and someone made a shawl for me, and I have it in this Ghost Light, and so I like this color. It's not my color, but I like it anyways. So that was one. Marigold Jen, this is the deep end. This is a sock weight yarn and some really great kind of deep greens with some blues, a little bit of blue kind of undertone on it. And Marigold Jen is someone I see at Zombie Apocalypse every year. So she has beautiful colors, beautiful yarn. And I love that this isn't a color I would have picked up per se, but it is a good color to have in my stash for, like, my shawl, having to go back and find something that would work. More sock yarn. This is the Unique Fingering Extra Fine Superwash Merino, and I just think this colorway is popping. It's, again, not a color I would pick for me, but I think my niece will like this. So I might make her some socks out of this. It's just, I mean, just look at it. It's bright. It's happy. It makes you happy. The one Mary gave me, which I actually love, Cannon Hand Dyes. She gave me, I think this was her prize for Knitted Knockers. And this is the Charles Merino sock, and this is self-striping, 3 to 4 rows, and it's called Let the Wild Rumpus Start. So it's based on where the wild things are. And it's a 6 color repeating. And I just love these colors. The blues and the greens and the yellows. It's very, very calming. And I've knit with Cannon, and she's also a great dyer. Then the last prize I got was Elisa Souza. This is Blueface Leicester Sport, 100% wool, 380 yards, and the Amazonia colorway. And this actually came with a pattern. I'm not going to do the pattern. So it came as a kit, the yarn and the pattern. But the pattern was more like a very small kind of shawlette. It was not long enough. It was only like 40 inches wide. And so it was kind of like a neck thing. So I'm not going to use it for that. I'm going to use it for something else. So yeah, all of that came home with me. My idea of not adding to my stash this year isn't really working. I'm not buying much, that's for sure. But one way or another, things are still finding homes with me, which is fine. I'm totally happy with all of this. I do have kind of a green theme going on, which I love green. I love green, I love orange. I love those colors. So these will go into my stash and come out at some future date and be happy to be knitting them. So yeah, the retreat, as I said, we go up there and you just hang out and knit the whole time. There was a talk by Elizabeth Doherty, the designer, who's a great designer. She did a talk on short rows, I believe. I didn't actually, didn't attend it. I had done the walk that morning. It's beautiful grounds in the countryside, so there's lots of places to go hike and take a walk, and so I had done that that morning instead. The food is wonderful. It's always plentiful. 3 square meals a day, it's included, so you don't have to leave. You basically get there and you don't leave. You just hang out and knit. and I got great sleep every night. I actually was kind of most nights in bed by like 9:30, but I really needed the sleep. I hadn't been sleeping well leading up to the retreat, so that was great. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say. It's a great retreat. If you're looking for one in Northern California, check out the group on Ravelry. There's always a few spots that open up, sometimes last minute, but as I said, a lot of people go year after year, and it's already on my calendar for next year. And it's my opportunity to hang out with some of my Northern California buds that I may only see once a year up there. Other than that, that's kind of all I have to talk about. I just wanted to kind of go over the retreat and show you all the goodies so that I could put them away. Work continues, life continues. I booked, in terms of upcoming travels, I will be going to see my family at the end of May, and it will coincide with seeing my dad, as well as my niece's birthday and my nephew's high school graduation. So I will be over there over Memorial Day for a little over a week. Lots of family stuff. So I think the first weekend is my niece's birthday, and then the next weekend is the graduation, and in between, we'll see. And then I am slated to go to Zombie and Apocalypse in June, and that is also coming up pretty fast. And excited about that. And then all booked for Rhinebeck. Booked the house, all set. So we'll be also attending Rhinebeck this year, which will be great. I missed it last year. And yeah, that's all I have to talk about. That should be enough, right? All of the yarn, all of the knitting, all of my rambling. Anyways, if you're looking for me, I'm Allison1031 on Ravelry and Instagram. And there's also a Hollywood Knitter group you can join if you wish. I only really post in there to say when new episodes are up or if I do a prize like I did last time. And yeah, so that's a wrap from Hollywood, where fantasy meets fiber and dreams are knit. Bye, everybody.